now closed the previous day, and then all of a sudden they're spontaneous. They're singing about what happened the day before. That's spontaneous. I mean, like, it just seems like when you have such vague porous rules that it just invites a sort of
and with all due respect, with the capital with the solidarity singers.
Would you speak to all of us, please?
If you have a pre-printed songbook, I think it's harder to make the case that it's spontaneous. So if it's been publicized, it's something
So if I bring the songbook that I have in my purse and carry with me every place I go, if I pull that out at noon, then I'm part of the group? What if I pull it out at 11?
And I'm standing next door.
And I heard and she knew. There you go. There's your 4.
I have a question about the permits. Can you...
Let's just go in groups.
Go ahead. It's a
Okay, I just have a question. So the point of these meetings, is it to get input from the public so it might change the track that we have? Or is it to just inform people that this is set, this is...
Our original purpose was to inform and help people understand what the policy and the procedure would be. But obviously we've got this included. I'm going to take that back. I think in the policies, obviously, any policy that you have in place, that if it needs to be revised, it should be revised. I'm not saying that this one will, but I'm saying it's something that we consider.
So I have a quick question. So if I want to bring my students through the state capitol, like every week, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, or whatever the time, can I apply for a permit for an extension, or do I have to keep applying and keep applying and keep applying?
And I think, there's a zone of reasonableness. If you said, I want this for the next 100 years, that's not.
Well, let's say like for schools, like 2 semesters.
Yeah, if it's for a certain period of time that it's reasonable, yeah, I think we can do that. It's probably easier for all of us. But we also have to balance that with if there's another event that happens to be happening at the same time, to be able to work with you on that. And I think that's true for the solidarity singers as well. What they've been doing in practice.
I've always respected
that. Within the policy, I think it will work incredibly well because they've been incredibly helpful in that. What we're asking is file a permit, and then we can work with you to ensure that you have the opportunity to have that sing along there. That there isn't another group that can infringe upon that particular area, and that we can have it safe and orderly manner.
So having my First Amendment rights granted to me by you then means that the next person standing there can't have his First Amendment rights. We've John has come many days and expressed his thoughts, sometimes rather loudly. Nobody has tried to interfere with him or anything, and I don't think anybody should interfere with him. It's his right to come and express his opinion that happens to be contrary to all of my opinions. So if I happen to get a permit to be in there, then does that mean that John can't come in and express his opinion? I think that's wrong.
I think to the extent that we're looking at the place, the time, the number of people, it's not content-based. That's a decision we have to leave to the chief to maintain that we've got a safe and secure environment.
With regard, sir, I'm sorry.
You haven't had the chief for a while.
So, if somebody decided to take out a permit, this is just a clarification on when you start billing people, essentially, for police services or damages to the property. Say I put out a message on Facebook, which of course you guys are monitoring, and then I say, I'm going to take out a permit, we're going to have a big rally to celebrate ice cream. And so all my Facebook friends are big ice cream fans. So they come in, we have 500 people in there, and then there's a couple of people that really don't like ice cream. And of course, us ice cream people aren't violent at all. We're just happy ice cream eating people. But then, as some people have suggested they've thought of doing before, they decide, a group that doesn't want us getting together to celebrate our ice cream decides to send in some anti-ice cream people and cause problems. Now, I'm the one person who took out the permit, and I'm the head of the corporation of I Love Ice Cream, okay? So we got 500 ice cream eaters sitting around just eating ice cream and having fun, but these infiltrators that are coming in because they don't like ice cream and they don't like the celebration of ice cream come in, and they cause problems. Riots ensue. Police come in. Damage is done. All of this because the infiltrators were brought in to stop the I Hate Ice Cream, or to stop the I Love Ice Cream celebration. It's all cleared up, everybody's gone, 6 people are dead, which of course you aren't responsible for because you're not responsible for that stuff. Now you got these poor stupid me is sitting there going, all I wanted to do was celebrate ice cream. Chief Tubbs comes to me with a bill for $500,000 because this riot goes on for a week. Why am I responsible for that? Where's the ultimate?
7.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one is hypothetical, but.
No, it's not hypothetical.
Who gets the bill?
Yes, I wrote the permit.
He's the permit holder. This whole rule book is hypothetical if you get down to it.
Let him answer.
Let me respond to that best I can. Okay, I want to point out a couple things to you. What he says. Okay? Well, we're going to do an investigation to see who's responsible. I can tell you something else that's gone on here. We've had events, just like you're talking about right now, where we've had law-abiding citizens come in and exercise their rights. And we've had a few who've come in and tried to rain on that parade and hold everybody in that parade responsible. Now, there's no one in this group right here who's been held accountable for those small groups' response and actions. No one here. That is true. But we're going to do an investigation and find out who's responsible for what. That's what we're going to do. But I can tell you today, this has happened more than once, more than twice, more than 3 times.
So it isn't a permit holder that's responsible.
Let me finish. The permit holder has not been held accountable for what had happened. Had not. So I'm telling you, we have people who will come in with the intentions, and they will tell you, and I can see people shaking their heads right now, agreeing with them, saying, they will tell us, we're part of the group. And we know they're not. We've had people right here in this room come in and say, I don't want to be identified with him, and her. They're there, they're not with us. They've told me that. And we respected that. And I can honestly tell you right now, we have not held you accountable for their actions. And that's going to be the case.
And one thing I want to, if I can, just want to add one other thing. Again, the whole goal of this is to ensure that we do have events in the Capitol. And one person's free speech may sound great to another one's won't. We all accept it. That's our right. But that we keep this so that it does maintain safety. And that's the chief thing that Chief Tubbs and his officers are looking to ensure. That we don't get to that event. And if we've got people that have applied permits, and we can properly plan for what's going to take place, we can address that, and everybody gets to go home safe, secure, and having had that opportunity.
I have a question, and this is not a hypothetical. A woman was assaulted in our Capitol by a Department of Administration employee. And does this new rule say that that guy cannot be held accountable for his actions when he assaulted a woman?
I think that's an entirely different case. That's not a matter of having a permit and what's involved in that. So
Whether or not she has a permit.
I read over the code. I don't think it specifically says that it's only for people who have a permit. It's just kind of a broad term saying, it doesn't say you need to have a permit in order for the employees to not be held accountable. I've read this 3 times now, and it literally just says that if anybody is injured or killed or anything, whether it be a police officer's fault or whether it be their fault, whatever, that no matter what, if you are in this building, whether you have a permit or not, you cannot sue. You cannot. None of the employees can be held accountable. It doesn't say anything about a permit.
It's a capital access policy that deals with the policy for getting permits for events in the Capitol.
Well, it doesn't say that.
All right.
There are more questions out there.
I will. I just thought of this. I listened to Vicki McKenna
Oh.
and Brian Schimming, and last week, and I know I've known Brian Schimming for years. I don't know if you probably don't know him. I don't know.
No, I've had him.
Yeah, probably once. And they are going on the radio about the sing-along and how distracting it is and how violent the workplace is and how it makes it for an uncomfortable workplace. And how would you like it if you had people come to your workplace and sing and make noise? And they go on and on and on about this. And they've been doing it for months. And then it gets ramped up and ramped up and ramped up, and then poof, there's a 22-page document of rules. So this has nothing to do with whatsoever with what comes from the governor's office, or, again, to reiterate, nothing at all from the governor's office, nothing from the Democratic or from the Republican senators or assemblymen or lobbyists. Nothing. There's no.
The original with this was with Secretary Hibbs shortly after the events that occurred in March, saying we need to establish a better policy that's more clear.
So it took you that long to come up with a document? It took you that long to come up with a document
Has he
as
not been saying the
pedestrian
whole time
as
this is
this?
the same policy? You just.
But no, I'm not. Please let me finish. It took you that long to come up with a document that's as pedestrian as this to just poof, it comes into effect, or it appears and it comes into effect immediately?
Part of it was to take the time to actually look at it. What do we need to achieve?
But there's nothing in this that's even
I appreciate
remotely legal that can be, so this has nothing to do with Vicki McKenna or the people complaining about.
And I discussed why we did it at this time and what the driving force was behind it.
Hypothetically.
And now that's where we were at. And so far as, and you'll notice within the policy, when you look at the time, or particularly the time when the Capitol or the Solidarity Singers are, that's an open time where the 90 decibel isn't in effect. And so that's when people have the opportunity to do that. But people also have to have the opportunity to work and provide an atmosphere where they can do that.
Is there some suggestion, that somehow this Republican legislature, this governor have not been able to do whatever they want in this state to this point? That somehow the Solidarity Sing-Along is prohibited any action by this legislature or this governor to do whatever they like?
I don't think that question is on the access
Well,
policy, and I'm not going to get into that. So
Well, I think
that's your personal opinion. I respect the other personal opinion.
No, it's not. It was a question.
I think it's fact, frankly, too. It's well established.
So we don't think our own opinions
So
are
in any
fact.
event, I'm just wondering, this notion that somehow work is being disturbed, it's just that there's no factual basis for that, sir, is there?
No.
Have they been prohibited from doing what they consider their job up there at any time by the Solidarity Sing-Along?
And again, I think if you look at the policy, it says it does allow for over 90 decibels during that noon hour. That's the time where that's
All right, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Where do you measure 90 decibels?
Yeah, what position do you do that from?
No, it's a serious question because
It is a serious question.
the strength of sound diminishes by the cube of the distance from the source. So it makes a big difference where you measure it. Where are you measuring it?
And where you're standing, too.
Yeah, where is the meter that you're using to measure the sound going to be placed?
Yeah, I think the main driver behind that is it interrupting somebody?
No, but I mean, that's
Well, I think that's the question.
you've stated a physical, a quantitative physical, you defined in a quantitative physical way how loud a sound can be. And the missing part of that is the distance.
I think the practical application of that is if somebody's complaining that the noise is too loud.
No, but that's not what it says.
I know that.
90 decibels where?
It says in the policy where it's measured from.
Does it?
I remember reading it, they specify where it's measured.
Because measured right here, I'm probably 90 decibels.
And
Measured at you.
it's based on complaints?
No,
That's what you said?
I think if you received a complaint, if somebody said to the chief of police, I think it's too noisy, he would have to go through the process to determine
Okay, but
that.
if some of these people who have been complaining all along because they don't like the content of what's being said in our capital, those people can come to you, to Chief Tubbs, and say, oh, they're bothering us. We don't like it that they're there.
But there's and a standard by which, if it reaches over that 90